Hi, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of GraysMatter podcast, a podcast where we talk about things and stuff. Today, our co-hosts are Nat.
Hello, my pronouns are they, them.
And Sarah.
Hello, my pronouns are she and her.
How are you two doing today?
Good. I stayed out until 1 a.m. last night, so I'm a little tired.
Magnificent.
Mm-hmm.
I am currently sitting in my sister-in-law's basement, which is not where I normally record, because my partner's family can't plan at all for anything. It's awful.
That does
But
sound
I'm here.
awful. But you're here, and I'm very happy to have you.
It's the magic of the internet. You're here even when you're not here.
Right?
We live in the future.
I love the internet.
Well,
I love that future tech.
Don't love that future global warming, but hey.
Yeah, the global warming can suck it, but the tech is nice.
Mm-hmm.
Next week is Pride, which someone
it
reminded me
is.
of today.
Wait, what?
Next week is Twin Cities Pride.
Oh, okay. We already had our Pride in Chicago, so I was very confused for a second.
Oh, right. Yes.
Yeah.
Twin Cities Pride in Minnesota.
Gotcha.
I am displeased with the Pride organization, both for that decision and a few others they've made about police and its presence at the festival.
Yes. I had mentioned to a friend of mine earlier today, actually, it sounds like they're not having a parade this year. And I said, that makes sense.
Interesting.
And it came around to reminding said friend about former Minneapolis Police Chief Hartnell, the first woman, lesbian, or openly gay at all, and Native American police chief in Minneapolis history, how she was making it known that she was upset that Pride didn't want cops in the parade in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
And so, Pride walked back on that. It's like, yeah, come on, let's have cops at Pride. And so many of us were
The
like,
way that
no.
The way that I put it to my friend last night was that they backpedaled so hard Marsha Johnson could feel it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, there was no walking involved there. And it pisses me off all the more because I know the executive director of Pride. Like, my office was in the same building as Pride for a long time. And I knew Dot. And I knew, I spoke with her on a number of occasions. We just kind of hung out in the hallway. And I asked her, why did that happen? And she said, being very overwhelmed and being, right about to run a festival, that they hadn't even meant to put it out there in the first place. Like, somebody had misunderstood what was said in a meeting and made the statement on social media, and that hadn't been planned in the first place. Like, they hadn't actually been thinking about removing cops.
Wow.
And
Oh, God.
yeah,
That-
I was not happy to hear that. And that was the last year I volunteered with the safety team at Pride.
Yeah, that
So
makes sense.
I just want to make sure that I understand exactly what happened. So, the statement that they didn't want cops at Pride was never supposed to have been made. Is that what I'm understanding?
The statement that was made was something about the specific ways that police presence would be reduced at Pride.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they had gone to the city or to the police and made these arrangements as exceptions to the Minneapolis statutes, which say that there have to be this many cops for a group of this size, which is something Convergence ran into and was able to get around, because there will be no cops at Convergence this year.
Oh, shit.
Cool.
Yeah, no, I'm really happy. Okay, Pride. I was talking about Pride. They had been working towards figuring out what reduced cop presence looked like. Somebody misunderstood and said there would not be cop presence. And then Harto got up on her ego, and yeah, it wasn't pretty.
Yeah. And it continues to not be pretty to this day. But at the time, at least before I knew any of this, at the time, I was looking at Hartnell's statement, after it was like, yeah, let's not have cops at Pride because we got all this going on. I'm like, yeah, let's not, because, this has been a force that has suppressed us for so long. And while there are queer people on the police force, yes, that is true. That does not mean that we can just absolve the police of all the harms that they have done, are doing, and will continue to do. And just particularly frustrated and hurt that Pride reversed that decision that I guess wasn't supposed to have been made. But as I said to another friend of mine, there are always collaborators.
Yes.
Can you expand on that?
Well, Hartnell is a lesbian. She is openly gay. And again, first openly gay police chief in Minneapolis history. But the power that she held, she didn't stop to think about, or I don't even know if it was even brought to her to think about what started Pride, the entire history, how the police has been used as a tool to oppress us as queer people, as people of color, since the beginning of the United States, as modern policing is an offshoot of slave patrols. Mm-hmm. And her, in her power as police chief, instead of going, police departments have this history, and therefore it makes sense to step out of the parade because of the lack of safety that people feel. We're supposed to be a force of peace and safety, and by being present, we are doing the opposite. She doubled down and said, no, we have to be there because we want to be there. Damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead.
It is part we want to be there, and it's part, like you're saying, the power in the system. And it's part Minneapolis statute is the problematic part.
Yeah, you don't become the chief of police thinking that you aren't supposed to enforce the laws. That kind of comes with the job.
So I meant though,
like
just
saying,
being in the parade, not the rest of being at Pride.
Sure. Yeah. So what I think was proposed in the Facebook post that wasn't supposed to exist was that the police would not have their own float.
Oh, that's very reasonable.
In this discussion. The only uniformed police presence would be the folks at the very beginning of the parade who have to be there as like the marshals.
That seems very reasonable.
That is eminently reasonable. You're correct.
Yeah.
And that's what pissed off the chief of police.
Oh, Lord.
Another thing, 2017 police, that I'm reminded of was that it was the 150th anniversary of Minneapolis Police. It was formed in 1867. And I remember this because one day I was walking down the street and a bunch of police officers, I was working downtown still, and a bunch of police officers were not wearing the Minneapolis Police shield with eagle on top. They were wearing the old town marshal badges that we had way back in the day.
Oh.
And I was like, are you actually cops? Are you marshals? Are you people just dressing up? There's something fishy, and I don't like this. And so, I went and looked it up, and I found out that that because it was the 150th anniversary, they were being allowed to wear historic badges on their uniforms. And I was like, you maybe wanted to do some PR on this first to let people know. Because I, for one, was highly sus of everybody around me more than usual because I didn't know what was going on. And if I see someone in uniform with the wrong badge, I think something's happening.
Yeah, I'm going to assume they're not actually cops.
Yeah. And, we've had the current shield since I was a kid at least. So, I'm almost 40, so at least 40 years. If there's a sudden change that we're not made aware of, we're not going to be, comfortable with it. We're going to think that something's not right. But, overall, that's not the biggest thing that Minneapolis Police has done in the past 4 years.
I don't think it was even the biggest thing they did in 2017.
Yeah. 1 month after the 1 month after Pride was when Justine Damond was shot.
Yeah.
And we got to see maybe a little bit of change in NPD, depending on one's point of view, because it was a black man who shot a white woman while in uniform.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah, and because that particular
he got fired quick.
He did.
He got fired and he got convicted.
Yeah. I believe he was the first Minneapolis officer to be convicted.
I think he might have been the first police officer, at least in this century.
Like in the entire country?
Yeah. I don't think in the...
Not in the country?
Let me just pull up a wiki article right quick.
I was about to say, when did Van Dyke get convicted? Because Van Dyke got convicted.
Well, I'm glad. I just remember that he was a landmark, and if it was just for Minneapolis, then I was mistaken.
I mean, it's definitely a rare occasion. That's not in question.
I don't know. It was a little depressing, honestly. I went out canvassing for Yes for Minneapolis a few weeks ago, and I was over in the Longfellow neighborhood that's kind of nearby the 3rd Precinct.
Mm-hmm.
And Yes for Minneapolis, I am going to shill here. Yes for Minneapolis is a ballot measure that is on the Minneapolis municipal ballot this year. Please go vote. It gives the city council and the mayor and the city of Minneapolis more power by amending the charter so that law enforcement officers are not the sole option for public safety. It would give us more options with community patrols. It would give us more option with community options. It would give us the freedom to invest in crime prevention solutions rather than just response. So please vote Yes for Minneapolis this November. Thank you.
Very cool.
Okay.
All right, I found it here.
But
Noor was the first Minnesota officer convicted of murder.
Minnesota officer.
Minnesota officer.
Okay.
It was, for him, it was, they upped it to, I lost it. Initially, he was charged with 2nd-degree manslaughter and 3rd-degree murder. At first, it was 2nd-degree manslaughter and 3rd-degree murder, and they later upgraded the charges against Noor to 2nd-degree intentional murder. But he was convicted of 3rd-degree murder and manslaughter, and acquitted of intentional 2nd-degree murder. That made him the first Minnesota police officer convicted of murder.
it was the state of Minnesota. That was the landmark.
State of Minnesota, yes. And since MPD is the 2nd oldest police department in the state, the eldest one being, I believe, St. Paul Police, that's over 150 years. Yeah. I mean, considering that there was also a period where they had to have a panel of police commissioners because the Minneapolis police chief and mayor of Minneapolis was too corrupt to run the police department.
Great.
Yeah. I mean, this used to be a mob town.
Used to be?
Didn't most towns?
Well, I mean, it might still be. I don't know. I don't pay attention to the mafia. Unless they make the news and it's like, yeah, mob person Tony Falcone, he's from Batman, right? Or Fat Tony from The Simpsons.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a cool museum in Vegas that's all about the mob and the history of how the organization worked and how the FBI was formed and slowly dismantled most of it. The museum is very cool. And I don't remember, honestly, Minneapolis being a big name in it when I went to go visit, but...
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, that John Dillinger, I think he was the Public Enemy movie that they made.
Yeah, wasn't he Chicago, though?
No, he was mostly out of Minneapolis.
Oh.
Yeah,
and in fact, in the movie, because I watched that movie because actually he worked a lot out of Minnesota and northern Wisconsin and Michigan. Like that was kind of his turf. Did a lot of bootlegging, across from Canada and stuff like that. And they scouted some locations and did some filming around where I went to school up in northern Wisconsin. And like Johnny Depp visited our tiny town of 8,000 people. And at the time, that was a big fucking deal. We're like, holy shit, it's Johnny Depp. They relocated a lot of this, because a lot of the scenes that, events in his life that actually took place in Minneapolis, the movie relocated to Chicago for who knows what reason.
Apparently, one of the places Dillinger stayed at was on Girard Avenue in Minneapolis, very close to where I used to live.
There you go.
I mean, also...
Girard and what?
32nd and Girard.
That's basically right where Winston Smith was shot.
Yeah.
Fun coincidences.
Let's see. Here you go. The Minneapolis Board of Police Commissioners was 1887 through 1890 because they couldn't trust the police chief.
The late 19th century, just in general, just full of that kind of bullshit, that the Gilded Age corruption and all that. It's really fucking wild.
Yeah.
It was like a strange time in history where like social structures and organizations were getting big enough that people could really take advantage of them. But the technology and a lot of the policies and traditions weren't yet in place to stop that from happening. So it was like human ambition had outpaced its better judgment, I guess you could say.
Oh, yeah. What a world we live in, or what the world the 19th century was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The present may be terrible, but the past was the worst. I'm sorry, you were saying in positive?
No. Oh, no. I mean, this president isn't great, but it's better than the last one. I was going to say, in positive police news, Bob Kroll retired earlier this year.
Hey!
So I heard. Hooray.
Yeah. Fuck him. Fuck Bob Kroll.
I'm glad that he's retired. He was egregiously bad, even for MPD.
And he
Yeah.
was the union president, is that correct?
Yes.
Yes, he was. His colleagues elected him to represent them.
Yeah.
Yep.
That is what they did.
And then he stayed in there for a long time. Far too long. I remember hearing, and I don't remember where I saw this, so I will drop a link in the show notes if I find it, that once Bob Kroll retired, Minneapolis police said that we're no longer backing you in whatever cases are coming up against you, so you're on your own. And I'm like, I could get down with that.
Yeah.
Don't have the
I would
police to
also
protect
not
you
like
now?
a single more cent. He also used a homophobic slur against a gay staffer to R.T. Ryback at one point.
I am not
This was
surprised.
2000.
Well, since
Yeah, his
R.T.
Wikipedia
Ryback
page is
was
just-
mayor 2002 to 2014, would have been any time in that period.
Yeah. His Wikipedia page is just like a list of how to be an awful racist.
Yes. Yes, it is. I did not know that R.T. Ryback went to Breck. R.T. Ryback, when he was running in 2002, I canvassed for him once because a friend of mine asked me to. The thing about that was that I had already planned on voting for Sharon Sells Belton. So I voted for her anyway, even though I canvassed for him, because I had a hard time saying no to people. I liked him. I met him. He was really cool. I voted for him in following elections after the first one.
He was very popular.
Oh, yeah. I had no problem with him. I just, with what I, knew at the time, I was very Sharon Sells Belton.
I would have been about 10 years away from moving here at that point, so I don't know any of that.
Yeah. Let's see. 94 to 2001 is when she was mayor, which is Minneapolis mayor. How long is the term for that?
2 years.
Okay. It's been a while since I've been in Minneapolis. I forgot how long their mayoral terms are. So that is...
Yeah, there's a municipal election every odd year.
Yeah. Let me just hit mute on that. So that would be 3 terms. Sharon Sells Belton was the first African American and the first woman to be mayor of Minneapolis.
Oh, neat.
Yep. I remember one time as a kid, she was on a parade float and my mom yelled, "Hey girl," to her. And she yelled back, "Hey," and waved directly at us. I'm like,
Yeah.
wait, do you
that's
know her?
fun.
And I think they went to high school together.
Ah!
Like, not the
That's
same
so
class
fun.
because my mom is 6 years younger than her, but like cross paths.
Yeah.
I don't remember which high school my mom went to. I remember my uncle went to West High School, which doesn't exist anymore. That's a condo now.
I was just thinking, speaking of collaborators, Chicago's first black lesbian mayor, Lori Lightfoot, is also probably the most blatantly pro-cop that we've had in a while.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
And it's wild too, because the CPD already hates her because she's a black lesbian who ran as a Democrat. So of course they're going to hate her for those reasons. But then she's also doing everything she can to alienate the more progressive, side of Chicago. So it's like, I don't know who she, and not only that, but like she is making cops now work. They've been working 12-hour days, like every day for months now, because instead of actually doing any reforms to address the source of the rioting last summer, she's just going to try and put the foot down harder to prevent any riots from happening and enforce police presence more strictly. So the cops hate her for overworking them. The progressive wing hates her for not doing anything to address the source of uprisings last summer. So it's like, I don't know who she's trying to win over at this point. She seems to be going out of her way to alienate everyone she possibly can.
Wow.
It sounds like she's aiming for the white liberals.
It's possible. I will say that I don't hang out with a lot of like white moderates, so I don't know what their beat on her is, but I do know that like pretty much everyone that I am socialized with is like, man, she's aiming for a single term, isn't she?
Apparently. Unless she's playing the deep game where she gets everybody to hate her, but so many people run that she ends up winning again.
That's basically how she won last time. We had, because, Emmanuel surprise did not run for re-election. Everyone assumed he would. He surprised everyone by saying nah. So we think we had like 8 or 9.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a ridiculous number of mayoral candidates, including a Daley. There's a Daley in there.
Any relation to Carson Daly?
No, but related to the 2 previous Mayor Daleys.
Oh.
Yes. Yeah,
Like,
the Daley had a lot of things named after him in this city.
Oh, gotcha.
He did not do very well, though.
Is the Daly family like a political dynasty?
Yes, and I will say that because I'm a transplant to Chicago, I don't know all the details. They were gone before I moved here, but their legacy does live on. The family's still active in politics, even though they aren't in the mayor's office anymore.
Dang. I hate political dynasties. Like, I don't mind if people are active, and even if multiple members of the same family are active, fine, be active. But political dynasties for the sake of political dynasties, especially when it's like, yeah, my parent was so-and-so, and therefore you should vote for me because, my name means political quality, is baloney. What is the name of the guy who ran for president again? Give me just a second. My brain has got this.
One of the Bushes?
Not the Bushes, though. All right. Let me just look at the post on my website for the 2020 general election race for president and vice president, because I have it written down.
Look at you.
Rocky De La Fuente. Rocky De La Fuente.
I don't even remember this person.
So in 2020 in Minnesota, I don't know what he was on the Illinois ticket. I'd have to look. But in Minnesota, he was on the Independence Alliance ticket. So the Independence Alliance ticket is the Alliance Party, which is a national organization that connects various different independent parties together. So in Minnesota, it was the Independence Party that it was connected with.
Jesse Ventura's party.
Yep. Funny thing, 2020 election, Jesse Ventura was on the ticket for president in Alaska under the Green Party.
Are you fucking kidding me? How did I miss that?
I'm very serious. Because Howie Hoskins? Hold on. Howie Hawkins was the Green Party ticket in the other states that was running a Green Party ticket. But they specifically chose safe states where Republicans had no chance. So they were very tactical about making certain Republicans didn't win, and so they wouldn't be a spoiler vote.
They didn't want the same accusations that were lobbed at Nader to be used again, huh?
Yes. Unlike Kanye West, who specifically said that he was a spoiler vote in one interview.
Well, or at least he would have been if anyone actually voted for him.
Yeah. So back to the Alliance Party. In Minnesota, the affiliate is the Independence Party of Minnesota. I'm stressing independence because it sounds too much like independent. Whereas the California affiliate is the American Independent Party, which is the party that George Wallace was a part of.
Oh.
Now, another thing about the California ticket was that the ticket was De La Fuente for president, Kanye West for vice president. But the American Independent Party of California website was A, very right-leaning, like they were almost openly Nazis, and B, they were talking about how 45 was their Lord and Savior. So, gross. And I'm probably on a list somewhere because I accessed their site while looking stuff up.
So wait, so they were pro-Trump, but they were still running independently instead of just supporting his campaign?
Yeah, pretty much.
Why?
I imagine they might have had to have somebody on their ticket for legal reasons, maybe. I don't know. If any California lawyers or politicians are out there and can explain it, that would be great, because I'm not a lawyer, and I don't play one on TV, and I don't live on the West Coast. All I know is what I was able to pull up from the Secretary of State websites for each state, and what I was able to pull off of their own website, because they have a website.
I've got an aunt I can probably hit up with those questions.
Cool
You
beans.
send them to me elsewhere. Yeah, no, I grew up in San Diego.
I don't think I knew that. Did I know that?
I can't imagine it hasn't come up.
I probably did know that.
But
Have I made any references
I don't know,
about...
I sound Minnesotan now.
Oh, jeez. I can't think of the name of that movie.
There's a lot of them that take place in California.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a bit of an institutional bias there.
That's true. That is true. Frickin' Thomas Edison. He sued the pants off of so many people that the movie industry moved to California to get away from him.
Oh, is that why? I
That
just figured
is
his
why, yeah.
land was cheap out there.
I mean,
I
that
thought it was
helped.
because of the weather.
That helped too.
Because the weather in LA is such that you can shoot outside most of the time.
Yeah.
But initially, he was so very litigious that whenever someone tried to make a movie, or whatever they called it at the time, using his motion picture technology, he would sue them. So to get away from him, they moved out west. I wonder if he did cause Maurice LePen to go missing.
Who's that? I am unfamiliar with this person.
Maurice LePen, and I may be mispronouncing his name, he's a French dude, is the person who invented the motion picture camera. And it's
is he
believed
the one-
Edison stole it off of him.
Is he the one who did those famous early recordings of like a galloping horse and stuff?
No, that's another guy.
Okay.
This one used a different technique, and he went on a train but never got off again. And it was a camera
I
that
believe it.
used multiple lenses in a way. I can't remember the full story. I will put a link in the show notes. There is a great BuzzFeed Unsolved video about it, so I'll probably link that one because it's great to watch. And it has a lot more detail.
I am now imagining that he invented a primitive version of the bullet time technology that the Wachowski sisters use in The Matrix.
Oh, that'd be hilarious and awesome. His daughter...
Are you thinking Louis Le Prince?
Louis the Prince, yes. What was I saying? Maurice LePen? I am doing the Maurice...
Yeah.
I'm doing the Maurice Louis mix-up again, like I did for Star Trek Picard.
Oh.
All those Frenchies are the same to you.
Louis LePen. Louis LePen is who I'm talking about.
Le Prince.
Le Prince. Who's LePen?
Prince.
Why am I thinking LePen?
I have no clue.
Could not tell you.
Well, now that's just
Reason
something
for
in my
it just-
brain. Make me go,
Now you
This
got to
is-
look
this
him
is
up to
fun.
figure out who this person is.
yeah, maybe this is another historical figure in my head. Let's see. There's a professor at the University of Houston. Let's see, geology and something. I'm not clicking that because I clicked this other link. It's also a pen. The Le Pen is a pen. Okay, whatever.
Probably a very fancy one. Feathers.
Something from Skies of Arcadia. I've never heard of Skies of Arcadia.
The game, isn't it?
That's what it looks like. An orphan who was adopted and raised by the Blue Rogue Centime. Okay.
Okay.
It means rabbit in Haitian Creole. It means rabbit in Mauritian Creole. It means rabbit in... I can't pronounce that word, Creole. Okay. I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking about a rabbit.
No.
Brains are weird. They do what they want.
Brains are so weird.
They are.
Oh! I know who you're thinking
Oh?
of. You're thinking of that one right-wing French politician, Le Pen.
Oh, yeah!
Oh.
I got you.
Isn't it Marie?
Marie Le Pen, yeah.
Yeah! That's it. Wow.
She was
Ta-da.
awful. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
And let's never confuse her with Louis Le Prince again.
Yeah, let us not. Let us not. Speaking of the French, in Star Trek, so what year is it right now? 2021.
Last I checked.
So you remember episode Deep Space Nine? It was a season 3 episode where Bashir, Dax, and Cisco went back in time to the Sanctuary Districts in California, San Francisco. Give me
I
just a
watched
moment.
that one recently, potentially with you.
Yeah, you did watch it with me, yes.
Okay.
Come on, brain. You know the name of the episode? Past Tense, parts 1 and 2.
I almost guarantee you I've never seen it.
Okay. There's an episode of, a two-part episode of Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Past Tense, Parts 1 and 2, that takes place in 2024, during the last week of August, first week of September. This was filmed in 1995. Sorry, it was first aired January 8th, 1995, so it was filmed in 1994.
How accurate were their fashion predictions?
Fashion was pretty bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the homeless people, the people in the Sanctuary District, I think their fashion was pretty on, being that it was just, suits and ties and coveralls and whatever you can get your hands on. But the uniforms, the double zippers, those were way off. The rich people, those were off. The hairstyles, those were off. Calling people wearing
hairstyles were
Starfleet uniforms
far too
pajamas, those were off. Starfleet uniforms are downright conservative compared to what a lot of people wear.
There's a lot going on with comfort in fashion since the 90s. It started in the 90s that fashion started to veer more towards function rather than just fashion. It's really interesting if you look at costuming to see, like if you're trying to design costumes, I learned about this in costume design class, to see where the switch is, and it's really right there in the late 90s, early 2000s that people started wanting to feel better in their clothes, and that's what fashion started moving towards. So the double zippers might have looked very, very cool to the designers, but it doesn't make sense to someone like us who's more in like, but I couldn't move in that.
Yeah, I could move in that. It's just I don't want to take the effort to deal with two zippers.
Right?
I don't want to take the effort to deal with one zipper most of the time. Just, I want that future tech that will hold it in place for me. Just kind of, press it on. Where was I?
Velcro?
Yeah, Velcro will work, except that comes off too easily. I'm a little on the rotund side, so Velcro will come out at the stomach.
Oh, fair enough.
Where was I? Sanctuary districts and the French. So in 2024, France sees widespread civil unrest amid student protests. Around this time, the neo-Trotskyists unseat the Gaullists from power. Political upheaval is common throughout Europe, with a member of the United States elite disdainfully remarking that Europe is falling apart. Also, the Earth nation of Ireland is unified after over a century of violence. They talk about that in Next Generation. So, here we are, 2021, and Brexit happens. And I'm like, will this be the thing that pushes Ireland to reunite? Because it was England minus London and the older demographic of Wales that wanted to leave the EU, while London, the younger demographic of Wales, Scotland, and Ireland wanted to stay in the EU. And you can't have a border between Northern Ireland and Ireland.
Not without violence breaking out again, no.
Yeah. So we're 3 years away from that. And then neo-Trotskyists have got to be some sort of communist at best, Soviet at worst party. Mm-hmm. But Gaullists, going by their name, they've got to be super nationalistic. Mm-hmm. And remembering who Le Pen was made me think of the Gaullists, which made me think of this episode. Like, what if that is the beginning of the Gaullists, which then sparks the neo-Trotskyists? What if it's all actually happening?
I don't think we're going to see it play out. I don't think we're going to see it play out exactly the same way that we don't see that that comm badges are what they are, but now we're all just using cell phones with Bluetooth rather than something like a comm badge. I think it's going to play out where we just have a bunch of ultra-nationalist parties all around Europe.
Yeah,
and there's a rising communist backlash to that.
Yeah, and France in particular has a history of widespread student protests. I remember even when I was a kid, it's like, France shut down again. Why? Everyone's protesting again. Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the yellow vest group.
I mean, students should protest when things are shitty.
It seems like in France they have a tradition specifically of mass protesting that I think some other countries don't necessarily have. It seems like it's just something that is understood that you can do there, and so they do it there.
Yes. I think I see on various memes as they make the rounds, you make noises that the French are protesting too much. Well, the French are actually getting what they want for their labor, so...
That is true. I mean, let's see. Willie from The Simpsons called French people cheese-eating surrender monkeys, which is a very United Statesian view of France, it seems. Forgetting that France was left alone while Germany was, walking across Europe until Russia and UK got involved. And France helped out greatly in the Revolutionary War, and France did all these other things.
Yeah, but they were mildly against invading Iraq and therefore bad.
Yeah, and that's why we eat freedom fries and freedom toast.
Because it was such a good idea to go into Iraq.
Yep. Speaking of Iraq, Donald Rumsfeld died the other day.
Yeah, fuck him.
The thing about that,
seriously.
Did you see the Teen Vogue article about it?
No,
but I'm sure it was amazing. Teen Vogue has been doing some of the best journalism this decade.
Such a good job with the journalism, Teen Vogue. Let me try it again. Alleged war criminal Donald Rumsfeld died today at age whatever. And I was like, you are the only news organization
Got to put
that
the alleged
had
in
the
there.
strength and will to bring up the fact that he is an alleged war criminal. And I was very happy to see
on my
that.
phone to read later.
Yeah. I'll put a link in the show
You should throw
notes.
this in the show notes.
That's
Yeah,
definitely going in the show notes. Teen Vogue is where it's at.
it is.
Have any final thoughts before we say goodbye?
Piss on
Dismantle white supremacy. Yay.
piss on Donald Rumsfeld's grave.
Yeah. I will say Kirk Garrett, Kirk Harriman, and see who figures that out. All right. Have a good night, everybody.
All right.